Welcome to Arnie's Class Podcast. I'm Arnie Aniel. I'm an HR development consultant, an international public speaker, a workshop facilitator, a coach, and an educator. Life is a great opportunity, and we all learn life lessons every day. This podcast is all about those lessons. Lessons like gratitude, confidence, happiness, mindset, and a lot more. Learning without action is information. Learning with action is transformation. Join me, learn, and transform yourself into a better you. Life mates, pandemic or COVID-19 has brought unprecedented changes in our lives. Who would have thought that everyone is going to wear masks everywhere you go? Or we're going to carry bottles of alcohol wherever we go. We never heard about work from home, and so many things, many things happened during pandemic. And I believe it's a big test for our mental health. But what is mental health? Mental health is not just about the mental part of it, but also our emotions and our social well-being. In this episode, I'm going to talk to a counselor, a therapist, who's going to share with us about mental health and what can we do to maintain our well-being, our mental well-being. And as we transition, and I hope this will really continue from pandemic to endemic, how can we prepare ourselves? What can we do? Life mates, listen and learn. Life mates, welcome to another episode. And my special guest for this particular episode was born and raised in Baguio City in the Philippines. She has degrees in psychology, education, and counseling. She has worked as a teacher, as a counselor, and as a therapist. Currently, she lives in Vancouver, where she works as a registered clinical counselor in British Columbia and a certified family trauma therapist. On top of that, she's a staunch advocate of family wellness and youth mental health. I can't wait to welcome my special guest, Miss Laarni Abalos-Bernardo. Hi, Arnie.
Hi, Arnie.
It's so strange. I call you Arnie and you call me Arnie, and I'm very happy to have an Arnie in my podcast for the first time.
I'm also very happy. This is my first time to be invited in a podcast, and I'm invited by somebody who's named Arnie. Yay! Super excited.
Yes, and I'm very excited. I can't wait to start this podcast. So let me start with my very first question. With your experience, knowledge, and expertise in therapy and counseling, how will you define mental health?
Okay, now when we talk about mental health, now this is our well-being in different mental aspects, such as our emotions, this our emotional well-being, our psychological well-being, and our social well-being. So, in other words, this is how well we're doing in terms of how we feel, our feelings, diba? We also have it also includes how our thoughts, no? So that's the psychological aspect of it, our motivations, our desires, our relation people. So when we have a fullness of all of these aspects, then that would speak of our mental health.
Wow. Very well said. Because most people, when we hear the word mental health, they always think of only mental. They don't think of the other aspects of, like, for example, the emotion, just like what you said. They only think of thoughts. They don't even think of the social aspect of mental health. Yes. With your experience, especially during the pandemic, we're still in pandemic, but I mean, in the peak of COVID-19, what were the challenges?
Yes, a lot, for me personally, these are the challenges, and my work has always been with young people and with families, right? But what I've noticed is during the pandemic, there was the biggest concerns were really number one was isolation. A lot of people, especially those who were living on their own, no, and then we cannot leave our homes, so they were very very isolated. I know we have social media, but we have to admit that we're social beings.
That's
You know,
right.
we
Yes.
always, we have we have what do they call, a herding instinct. No, we
Correct.
always gravitate towards other people. So the fact that we could not leave our homes, although it was initially, it was okay. You know, we were we were home, we were resting, everything was so unclear. But after a while, isolation became a big problem because we're natural herders. We gravitate towards other people. We're social beings. So that's the first one. A lot of people started to feel isolated, and we have to admit not all of us have the capacity to connect online, no? And that made it very very difficult. So that's number one. Another was the uncertainty. No, I think this
Mhm.
is on a global scale. Nobody knew what was going to happen next.
That's right.
Even up to this point, we are not sure. I remember a week ago, one of the doctors in our clinic said, "Oh, we're starting. We are at the endemic, so it's ending," and they know it, right? But at the same time, everything is so uncertain. And during the peak of COVID, even now, no, now that we're in an endemic already, you would notice that there's so much anxiety around uncertainty. And again, as humans, we have a need for predictability. What
Yeah,
do we
that's
fear?
right.
Things that we do not know. That's our
Exactly.
biggest fear. And I guess that's part of the pandemic, ano, the anxiety of what's going to happen next. What restrictions will be lifted? What restrictions will be added? When will I see my family again? Will there be another pandemic? What will happen if I get sick? So it's really a lot of anxiety, a lot of worries. We were excessively worried because we did not know for sure what would happen next. No, so those were the two peak concerns during the pandemic, which greatly affected our mental health. And then on a personal level, what I also noticed, and this is for me the ugliest part of the pandemic, was when we were in isolation. Not all of us were in homes that were safe,
Oh,
and I
yes.
think that was the saddest part for me. That broke my heart into so many pieces, knowing that a lot of people were living with their perpetrators. A lot of people were living with their abusers. A lot of people were in homes that were the worst place for them to be. And that broke my heart. And they had nowhere to go, especially young people. Schools were closed. Libraries were closed. They cannot meet their friends.
Yeah,
And for them, this
exactly.
was, all of these places were their refuge. But now I'm stuck at home with the people I hate to be, with the person who's probably my perpetrator as well, or my abuser as well. And that for me was the ugliest part of the pandemic. So
Totally
yeah.
agree. And instead of saying I'm safe at home, people were like stuck at home, which yeah, I totally
Yes.
agree with that. So Arnie, what will you say to those people like alone and lonely and they reach out and what can I do? I want to be with someone, but no one to be with them. How will you comfort these people?
Usually, this is again, during the pandemic, I think one of the best things that really happened was more and more people started to find creative ways of connecting with other people. I guess more than ever, it was during the pandemic that even older people who were not tech savvy started to learn how to use iPads, started to learn how to use FaceTime, to learn how to chat, to make use of Facebook even more, or any of the other social media outlets to remain connected. Now, this was one of the good things about the pandemic, na no matter, because of the herding instinct, even if we are not allowed to be physically together, we would always find ways to be together.
Yes.
No? And mostly what we would do, and this is a very good initiative that I found here. Apparently, the people who were really stuck at home and were very isolated were older people, the seniors can no
Yes.
longer leave their homes, and they were also the most vulnerable. Now, one of the initiatives that I saw here was for younger kids, younger people. They would write cards. They would
Oh,
actually, they would send it. old aged homes. They would send it to people who were probably the people that they know, their lolos, their lolas, their grandparents, the friends
Yes.
of their grandparents. They would send them cards. They would have book exchanges,
Oh,
and
that's
then
nice.
they would have interactive activities. No? And that was a very good initiative from some of the clubs here, which were in school. No, and so that was very very good. And then one of the things that you can probably say, or to people who feel very very isolated is, um it's probably just good to acknowledge that we are all sad because we were all in the pandemic together.
Correct.
So sometimes, instead of saying, okay lang yan, you will be fine, don't worry. Sometimes it's also good to actually just acknowledge, yeah, I hear you. It's sad. I am sad too. Right?
Yeah.
And we're together. We're feeling, even if we're not together physically, I feel so alone. And I think that's something that it's something that I consciously had to learn to do much more now. It's acknowledging our feelings, or
Yes.
acknowledging other people's feelings instead of saying, "Oh, don't be sad. You'll be fine. Ano ka ba? It will be okay.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
para dyan lang. No, you'll be okay." But instead of saying that, you can, or even sometimes for some of us, we're very positive. Think of all of the good things you have. Imagine you have a very comfortable home. You have the best gadgets, you have very fast Wi-Fi. And sometimes instead of saying that, we can always just be more empathetic and just say, I hear you.
Yeah, that's right.
I hear what you're saying. In fact, can I share something? I'm also feeling sad just like you, and I feel it in my heart. And I'm
Yes.
afraid. Are you afraid too? It's really acknowledging, it's validating that it's okay to be sad because I'm sad too.
That's right. Yes.
So there. So I think that's one of the things that I feel that during the pandemic, that's one that in my work as a counselor, it's one of the skills that we have to practice. But sometimes we're very biased, no, when it comes to people who we work with, and as Filipinos who are very positive and very optimistic, we tend to not intentionally, we tend to unintentionally invalidate feelings.
That's right.
Right? So I guess that's one of the best things that we can do when we talk to people who are feeling sad and who are feeling alone. It would always be good to, yeah, I hear you. It
Yes.
sounds that you're really sad.
Yeah,
It
that's right.
sounds that right now you feel so alone there.
Exactly. That's nice. I think it's really important to validate our feelings and at the same time to acknowledge that. As I remember, I also speak with another guest and he said it's okay not to be okay, because sometimes you just have to, like, yeah, it's I'm experiencing this and it's okay not to be okay. But at the end of the day, you have to be okay. It doesn't mean that
Mhm.
it's okay not to be okay, but you're not going to be okay for a long time.
For yes.
Exactly. Arnie, you also mentioned that's for the isolation. How about for, because just like what you said, we all long for predictability. We want to know what's going to happen. But a lot of questions: what I'm going to do, what will happen to my job, am I going to be employed, what happened to my family, I haven't seen them for a long time. So how do you talk to these people once they start expressing all their uncertainties, all the questions they have in mind, and then expressing them one by one? How will you deal with this kind of a person?
Okay, so basically for me, I'm thinking of right now off the top of my head two approaches. Now, first is we focus on the things that we can control rather than the things that we can't control. And admittedly, there are so many things that we cannot control. The pandemic was uncontrollable. Restrictions were uncontrollable. Vaccine rollouts were uncontrollable. Even anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, uncontrollable. Right? Or even rules and policies regarding work. You don't want to work in the office. You feel so unsafe. But if they start telling you, no, from now on, we start working in uncontrollable. But and if we worry on the things that we cannot control, then we feel frustrated,
Exactly.
right?
I
Because
totally
it's so
agree.
frustrating.
Yeah, you feel bad. You feel worse, worst and worst and worst.
Precisely. And it's mostly it's making you feel frustrated. It makes you feel angry. It makes you feel so annoyed. And then it makes you feel really amped up. Right? And it affects you. But if we focus more on what I can do or how would I respond to the things that I cannot control, then it makes it more predictable, not for the situation, but for us. We cannot control regulations, we cannot control rules. But at the same time, if I choose, for instance, right now here, they're lifting mask mandates.
Oh,
There's in
wow.
some of the provinces, they're already saying na, for instance, in some of the schools, and a lot of parents are worried, masks are no longer mandatory. And I can't do anything about that,
That's right.
right? Because
Exactly.
that's the rule of the state. But at the same time, what can I control? Even if they're no longer mandated, if I want to use a mask to make me feel safe, then I'll use a mask. Done. If I have young children, what do I do? Let them bring their masks to school. Talk to them at home. Don't take your mask off. Okay, mommy will feel much safer. Then I focus on something that I can control, right? So basically, when we talk about, and it might not necessarily be how we want things to be, but it will give us a sense of at least I am in control, right? So that's number one. Another is for a lot of people, so that's predictability, no?
Yes.
We have our anxieties are actually related to everything that's uncertain, right? So for a lot of us, it would be, let's just think about it as a window. No? So what we can see in the window, that is what we're certain of. No? But there are also things outside the window which is uncertain. Right? So basically, when we talk about uncertainty, sometimes we want to do things the same way. We
Yes.
follow a routine. We want things done the
The
same
comfort
way.
zone.
Yes, that's our comfort zone. We go to a restaurant, we order the same thing over and over again. You look in your closet, there are probably just 5 shirts that you love because this is what you love, right? And we know what we are certain about. That's why it's so comfortable, no? But when we are faced with uncertainty, then that's when we start to feel anxious, right? So when it comes to and considering everything that happened during COVID, this is really a moment of such great uncertainty that for all of us, it just pushed us to go outside your comfort level, to
Yes.
start embracing uncertainty. We never heard of work from home. That concept was never, probably for most of us, it was unheard of. But we
Yes.
started doing that.
We never heard about WFH. We only heard
Yes.
WTF.
Yes. 'Di ba? Pero
Correct.
now, we're working from home. We never really thought that online learning would be possible. Now,
Yes.
that's what we're doing, right? We probably would never go on a Zoom date with our friends. But now, that's possible, right? Or even where we're from. We probably wouldn't even go on a staycation. Diba?
Exactly.
Kasi
Yes.
sayang pera, we'd
Yeah.
rather go somewhere else, somewhere I haven't been to. But now we are in our own places. We're staycationing. We're we're visiting the tourist spots that before this was so cringe-worthy. I'm not going there ever. So what are we doing? We're starting to embrace uncertainty,
Yes.
right? We're starting really, and the more that we embrace, the more that we feel uncomfortable about uncertainty, the more that we experience it, the more that we get positive experiences that, oh, it's not too bad. Staycations are not too bad. Or staying at home is not too bad. Or, dressing up in comfortable clothes while you're working, it's not too bad. Or talking to someone on my Zoom, on my screen, it's not too bad.
That's right.
Or maybe then that's when, or even cooking for my own self rather than eating out because I'm not such a good cook. It's not too bad, right? And again, that helps when we start embracing the uncertain in little ways. Then that's when it becomes more, predictability becomes less of a problem for us. Because we start to see that the unpredictable, although it's true, we cannot predict it. We do not know what will happen. But But sometimes when we try to change what we've been so used to, it's not too bad.
Yeah, and we
We'll
discover
be
new
okay.
things. We learn new things.
Yes. Precisely, di ba? How, parang for instance, all your life you've been eating apples and you've probably thought that oranges are icky and gross. But when you start, once you've tasted an orange, oh, masarap pala, it tastes good.
That's
Then
right.
it broadens your experience. It also makes you, then maybe next time we can try a banana.
That's right.
Because when I tasted the orange, it was actually good. And what if you don't like the banana? Oh, maybe the next time, the next fruit that I will taste, maybe I might like it. Maybe it might be good. But that's the beauty of uncertainty. And that's also the more beautiful part is really embracing the uncertainty and learning things. And like what you said, discovering things that we might not have been really sure of about
Yeah,
ourselves.
exactly. Actually, the pandemic, of course, everything that happens has always two sides. It's not always negative. There are
Mhm.
positive aspect of the pandemic too, but instead of focusing only on the negative side, we should also look at the bright side of the pandemic. Like we became closer to our families. We appreciate the
Yes.
people around us more. Like before, you're always outside, dinner, lunch, breakfast. You don't even stay at home, and now you're safe with your family members. Of course, I'm talking about those with family
Yes.
members
Yes.
where they are safe, and then the home is full of love and caring and things like that. So there's also a positive side of it. So now, Arnie, I know you work with family. How was it with the family? What did you experience there when it comes to family? Because we talk about mental health individually. How about in a family?
Mhm.
What's your
Okay.
experience?
This is very funny because the experience that I had working with families here, I'm in Vancouver. Okay, so um one of the most common narratives of families here in Vancouver are parents and children being apart for many years, and they would be reunited after so long, and there would be some, not really some concerns, no, but for some families they find the reunification challenging. Okay, it can be very difficult for them. Imagine a lot of the moms here, a lot of the very brave, very talagang very self-sacrificing moms. They left their kids when they were small, and they would be reunited with their children, but now are teenagers. So that was one of most of the families that I worked with would fit into this category. I'm not saying that all families are like this or all are
Yeah.
having problems, no. But there are a few, and probably the nature of my job, I would not work with families who do not have problems. I'm not needed.
Exactly.
They do not need me.
That's
So I
right.
only work with families who really have difficulty reuniting. Now I remember during the pandemic, um when it started, I had to talk to so many parents, so many moms who were so worried because this is the first time that I will be with my child. And I had no excuse. I was not working, they were not in school, we were stuck in our homes. One of the most common questions that I would ask, what will I tell my child?
Oh, wow.
Even
Ah,
in Tagalog, no?
sorry, Arnie.
Mhm.
Arnie, are we talking about Filipino families or also
Filipino
Canadian? Ah,
families.
Filipino.
These are
I see.
Filipino families, no? And they would always ask, what will I talk to my child about? Paano
Oh,
ko
wow.
kakausapin ng anak ko? How will I talk to my child?
Oh, wow.
And for the first few days during the pandemic, it was very difficult because it was very quiet in the homes. Because families were not really used to being together for such a long time with nothing to do. And then later on, I noticed that this was not only common among Filipino families, it was common among almost all of the families.
Oh,
Kasi when you think about it, when do we spend time with our families? During vacation times, mostly during Christmas, during holidays, that's it.
only
And during
parties,
holidays,
right?
parties, you have a plan. You have things that you have to do, but here, no, you don't. Everybody's, what am I gonna do next? So that became a concern. How am I going to talk to my child? Or even when I talk to the young people, I find it so awkward that I'm with my mom. Imagine, that would be their script. Yun yung script nila. And
Wow.
then after that, again, no, this is for some of the families who I worked with, they felt resentful And this was one of the, not really a common script, no, but again, dealing with, I am called for when the family has concerns, right? But one of the common scripts that I hear is children feeling resentful for their parents leaving them behind. So it's really abandonment. That's how they feel, no?
Oh,
When their parents had to leave, no. So that was one of the most common scripts, no. And then later on during the pandemic, this is what I noticed. However, a lot of the Filipinos who are here are caregivers, nurses. We work as frontliners, as essential workers. All of a sudden, their moms were front and center. They were superheroes. All of the kids who were so resentful for their moms for leaving them when they were kids were so proud of their moms,
that's nice.
which was really for me, it was a very good eye opener. No matter how much you talk to these kids and talk to them about this is why they had, and I think you talk to your mom about this is why they had to leave. They would never understand it until they got a sense of, oh my gosh, they're paying tribute to my mom. My mom is a hero. She's a healthcare worker. Not all heroes wear capes. My mom is a hero. And that actually brought families together.
Oh, that's
And for me,
beautiful.
that was a very beautiful here, no? That was a very beautiful part of the pandemic. It reunited. You know, I told you about the ugly part.
Yes. Now let's talk about the beautiful part.
The beautiful part of the pandemic is it reunited families. It gave them the opportunity to just be together and just to, just see each other face to face, meet each other eye to
Yeah.
eye. We don't have anything anywhere to go. We don't have anything to do. We're bored. Let's look for something to do. Let's make each other feel uncomfortable until it became comfortable. And as I said earlier, for me, Arnie, that was the most beautiful part of the pandemic, seeing how a lot of the disjointed families feel so reunited because they were able to spend so much time together. Uh,
Oh,
and,
that's
and
really
and
beautiful.
and which was really, really very beautiful for me. And that's where you can see how connections are so important during the pandemic, even for families. Right?
That's
I guess
nice.
that's it's like what you earlier said. No, you realize a lot of the things that you actually had but never really paid attention to because they're so basic.
Yes. And it's
But
always
the
there.
pandemic, it's always there. No, they're never going. They're not going away. But these are
Exactly.
the things that I felt we really realized.
I see.
So yeah, that
Arnie,
was for the Philippine families. Yeah.
yeah, we're already talking something beautiful here, but let me just like ask something else about it because you mentioned about there's like resentment and then they are reluctant and then they're asking question, what am I going to talk to my child? What am I? And I think on the other side, also the children are like, what am I going to say to my mom? What are we going to, what if she asks me something or my dad? I don't want you to choose, but just share with us. Is it more on the parent side or is it more on the children's side?
I will always be partial to kids. Sorry. My bias is for the kids. Eh. Ako,
I need the parents will actually complain when they listen to
I
this
know.
podcast.
They will. They probably will. I'm pretty sure they will, though. But at the same time, for me, kasi, when you become a parent, it might not be a choice. It might be a choice, right? But the fact that
That's
you
right.
decided to have your child, then you were making a choice,
Exactly.
right? And if you think about the parent-child relationship, at the end of the day, who's the adult? Is it you or your child,
Exactly.
right? So my bias will always be with the kids. Why? Because no matter how hurt you are, no matter how you think that, no, I'm the parent here. Yes, okay, we get it, you're the parent, but are you an adult? And diba, if you're an adult, then you should be more rational. You should be more understanding. You should be the one who can give more amends to your kids. You should be the one who would know, am I being manipulated? Am I being controlled? You should be the one who would have, alam mo yun, you have to be more patient when it comes to, am I going to take this? Do I have to suffer some more? Do I have to exercise tough love? Do I just give in to what my child wants, even if I know that this is difficult? You're the one who has to make tough calls because you're the adult.
Exactly. Let me stop you there, Arnie. When you said, am I going to give in? Because I believe most parents, they have this, I think it's more on the belief that I'm the parent, I have the authority, I have the power. I am not supposed to give in to you. So how will you talk to these parents when say, no way? They are the ones who should
Mm.
actually approach me first. They are the ones who should ask for forgiveness. It's not me, I'm the parent. So how will you
Oh
talk to these
yeah.
parents, Arnie?
This is so funny because this is very typical Asian parenting. Yeah. Yeah. This is always a
I
top.
will
It's so
totally
funny.
agree.
And it's funny because right now that I work in a very culturally diverse workplace, it's funny how other people would see us so objectively, right? Because they're not from our shoes, but they would see how we would talk about how we raise our children, how we understand emotions. They can see from a totally unbiased, very objective place that this is how you're doing it. Now, they would always notice that for Asian parents, they're very, very authoritarian parents, right?
I couldn't
So
agree
I'm a
more.
'di ba? I'm a parent.
Yes.
And this is why for a lot of Asian, the tiger moms, 'di ba? Na talagang they push their kids to do so well, and they're, oh my gosh, we're seeing a lot of kids who they go to their main goal ever since they were young was just to go into an Ivy League university. So they have so many activities. Oh my gosh, they have so many activities outside of school. They have tutors left and right. They were playing. Nako, here you see a lot of them, and they would always say parents are their parents are so authoritarian. No, they're always the boss, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because as parents, we have every right to demand from our children.
Yes.
We can do that because
Yes.
we're adults,
That's right.
right?
That's right. And you know more.
Yes, at least up to a certain point, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Not
So
everything.
we
At a
have,
certain point.
yes, at a certain point, we have every right to demand from kids, from our children. Sure. So if I say, anak, my child, I think that what you did was wrong. If I felt wronged by it, I have every right to tell you that. Or if I say, I want you to finish school, I have every right to demand that because I am your parent. But I balance it with warmth. It's not
Okay.
just all demand, 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 demand.
Correct.
I also have to
Yes.
balance it with warmth. I know that I can demand things from my child, but my child also knows that I love my child so much, that I love him so much, which is why I have demands from him, right? And this is where you will see how it's hard for children to actually talk to their parents if all their parents do is just to demand from them. There has to be warmth too. And when we talk about warmth, we meet our kids where they're at, right? I remember, and this is where love languages
Yes. Yes. By
are
Dr.
very
Chapman.
important.
Yes.
Yes, this is where it's very important because that's where we can match our warmth should match our child's love language, even if it's not necessarily our own, right?
Yeah. But Arnie, don't you think that it's the other way around when you say that the parents should meet where the children at? But
Mm.
while I think this is my own opinion, that most parents, I think they want their children to be at their level, at meet me here, not me stepping down to meet you at that level. So, what's your advice for this?
Well, this is where it becomes tricky because we all have our own styles when we parent our own kids, right? And for a lot of us, we would normally say, well, it's my child, so I can do however I want. In terms of raising my child, you have no say as to how I raise my child. No, and it's true. I will agree. For a lot of us, a lot of Asian parents, we have a certain demand that no, I am your parent, I am the adult here, then you should give in to what I want. What I have noticed, however, is when we have children of parents who are strictly demanding, where children do not even get any form of warmth from their parents. They also tend to be a bit more anxious. But here's the payoff. They are also very goal directed. They're high achievers. But despite their achievements, a lot of them would complain about how am I feeling. No, they would complain about I am just so tired. But they just have to keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. Why? They want to please their parents. Right? And you know, admittedly, if that's the case, I'm pretty sure that no matter how a lot of the Asian kids complain about, but my parents so demanding, she always wants to meet me here.
Yeah.
But you know what? Our kids, they will always meet you where you're at. They will always give in to what their parents would want. For almost most of the Asian kids are like that.
I see.
But it doesn't mean that everything is fine.
Exactly.
This is where a lot of the resentment, a lot of the invalidation comes from. And then as a parent, it would be your choice. You have a high functioning kid who can be a bit detached from you.
Yeah.
And that is mostly where it can be quite sad.
I see. Wow. Very
So
well explained, Arnie. So we already talk about mental health for individuals. We already talk about the family. In general, Arnie, in order for us to have that level of mental being that we are happy, that we are healthy, what can you give us at least three, four, or five? It depends on you.
okay.
Five things that we should do regularly or as a part of our routine just to keep ourselves mentally healthy, not just as an
Okay.
individual, but also as a part of a family.
Okay. So I think one of again the good things that emerge. So we already have the ugly, we have the
Yeah,
bad, we have
and the
the
beautiful.
beautiful. Let's go to the good thing. No, one of the
Yes.
good things that emerged naman out of the pandemic would probably be more emphasis on self care. Right. This is again for Asians. This is again a topic or this is something that was quite unheard of, right, for a lot of us because we're very hardworking, we're very resilient, we're so used to just working for what we want. We're very industrious. No matter where you are in Asia, that's probably one of the traits that really makes us stand out, right? We're very industrious. Sanay tayong magtrabaho. We're so used to working. No?
Yes.
But sometimes, this is funny because in Tagalog, di ba, they would usually say, ihi na lang ang pahinga. So it's only when you pee that you rest.
Yeah, when you go to the toilets, that's the only
That's
time.
it.
Ihi lang ang
But
pahinga.
ihi lang ang pahinga. Pero in reality, during the pandemic, that's when you realize, because we just had so much time in our hands, maybe because we were working from home, that's when self-care was actually emphasized. And there are different forms of self-care. Now, self-care can be just taking a few minutes to yourself, doing something that you really, really enjoy and not feeling guilty for it. It's actually probably a very tired mom locking herself up in her room, wanting a break from her kids, and just actually really enjoying scrolling through her phone,
That's right. Yes.
right? So, or even self just really imagining that I'm washing all of the negative energies away from my body. Or self care can even be um, getting something I really, really wanted, buying this for me because I feel that I deserve this, right? So self-care is very, very important. And I hope that by now, we have stopped feeling guilty for doing things for ourselves because we need it. We all need mental health breaks. It can be as simple as connecting with somebody you really, really love. It can be buying something that you have really, really wanted. It can be pursuing a career or a passion that you really found interesting but never really had time to explore when the world was still so busy.
Yes.
And that is self-care. Self-care has to be very deliberate and very self-conscious. I'm really doing this because I need a break. So that's one.
See.
Part of self-care is self-compassion. So what does that mean? Self-compassion means that you really need to feel so much passion about yourself. Diba? I remember when we were talking about Gabor Mates, right? And
Yes.
he would mention how we always have a double standard when our friends or when people who are, or even when watching the news, right? When we watch the news and when we hear bad stories, we always feel so bad for them. And we always start feeling, how can I help this person? Oh my gosh, this is so terrible. This is horrible. How? Oh my god! And then you feel so bad for them, and then you're there ready to help, ready to. Oh my god, how can I help you? What can I do? Diba? But if it happens to us, if we're in the same situation, it's okay lang yan. I'll be fine. We don't even
That's
mind
right.
it,
That's right.
right? Diba? But if it's other people, then we're so ready to jump in.
We're more
And I think
compassionate
that's
towards others instead of to
yes.
ourselves.
Yes. 'Di ba? But basically, if you look at the word compassion, 'di ba? It's passion for others. It's feeling for others. Now, for self-compassion, the same feelings that we have for others when they feel bad, let's just return it to ourselves. That's how simple it is. We don't need to have an excuse and to say, oh, because I really, really need this. Oh my God, I deserve this naman. No, because we need it as much as they do.
Exactly.
No,
Yes.
but sometimes whenever we do that, we feel so guilty afterwards,
Yeah,
right?
even buying something for
But at the same
yourself.
time,
Yeah.
this is essential.
You see.
Mm,
Yes. So self-care,
diba?
self-compassion.
And mhm. So those are very very important. So self-care and self-compassion. And then and I think the last really is also so there you know what self-care is. We've probably attended a millions of or hundreds of webinars about self-care. We know about self-compassion. So self-compassion is easy to understand. It's as simple as how you feel whenever your best friend tells you all of his or her problems. Once they start complaining to you and you feel you have a tug at your heart, you really want to help, or even oh, it's very timely. What's happening to Ukraine, for instance, all of us are so affected by it. All of us are, how, what can I do to help? Can you just imagine having that feeling, but towards yourself?
Exactly. Arnie, can I say be kind to yourself with self-compassion? It's your
Yes.
kindness towards yourself.
Yes, it's really just I know we do not need that double standard, not for ourselves. I would always say you cannot pour from an empty cup. How can we actually be there for others if we cannot even be there for ourselves? So
Exactly.
that's very
Yes.
very important, diba? And so there's self care, self compassion, and the most important and probably the hardest, really, is when it comes to your well being, your mental health well being. It's also very important to be very intentional about what you want for yourself. You have to want to be well. And that's where recovery comes from. That's where well being comes from. I am choosing to be well. I am choosing really not to be, when we're talking about mental health, no? So it's emotional health. I am choosing not to be angry, or I am choosing really to just let go of that anger and really mean it and not just be plastic about it, not just be a hypocrite about I am no
Yes.
longer
Yes.
angry, but you're harboring so many ill feelings. It's really today I'm choosing not to be angry, and I'm just letting go of that. Right? It's the intention of today I am choosing only positive thoughts. I
Yes.
will intentionally stop myself from thinking negatively. Right? So that's another. Today I am choosing to connect with people who are not toxic, with
Oh, that's
people I
important.
genuinely yes. Yeah, I will choose to connect with people who I genuinely want to connect with, even if they might probably think I'm annoying. I don't care. I will choose to connect. So you can see the importance of the intentionality of doing things. I want to do this, and I mean it. I am doing it with so much intention. I intentionally want to be well. And once you want to be well, you will choose to drop the things that do not make you well.
That's
Mm.
very critical and important because some people they get used to it, to the pain and suffering, and then they want people to feel sorry and Come on. If I don't think you expect others to do that if you can't even do that to yourself.
Yeah. And remember, no, even when we talk about mental health illness, it's not necessarily when we talk about mental health, it's not necessarily the absence of disorder or the absence of illness. A lot of us are living with mental health disorders,
Yes,
but we choose to be well. Diba? I
that's
know
right.
so many people. I have friends, no. I have my own mental health concerns, but I'm choosing to be well. It's my intention. I want to be okay. My mental health concerns will not hinder me from choosing what I feel is best for me today. Right? So
I
there's
hope,
something bigger, yeah.
yeah,
It's bigger. Our intention is bigger than our illness.
that's right. I just hope that everyone, especially those who are listening to us right now, really learn that kind of having the intention. Because
Mm.
sometimes I know it's not that easy, but
Mm.
also I believe that it's not that hard. We are just like what you said, we are bigger than those problems, anxieties, everything that is negative around us. I think we're bigger than that.
Yeah. And Arnie, alam mo, when it comes to really choosing, it's hard. It's very, very, very hard. But you're right. It's difficult, true, I will agree. But is it doable? It is doable. Kaya natin to eh. We can actually do it eh. And the biggest hindrance to our intentionality would be ourselves. No one else is stopping you but yourself.
Yes.
And it's hard. That's whenever I start a session with any of my clients, that's what I will tell them. Are you ready to commit to change?
Yes,
Because
because
if you're not,
it's useless, right? Nobody can help you except yourself. Even if I give you like a
yes.
book or a lecture on how to be well, if you're not ready and if you're not willing, then nothing will happen.
That's why I always tell them, oh, I'm a counselor, I'm a therapist. I cannot do I'm not gonna do the work for you. You have to do it yourself. So that's my first question. Are you ready to commit to really wanting to change? That's
And if
why
they say
when
no,
I
Arnie, sorry to cut
and
you.
then when I say no, you can always come back. Let me know when you're ready. I'll wait for you 6 months. I'll give you 6 months. If after 6 months you feel that, or within 6 months you feel that you're ready, let me know. I will be ready to work with you. After 6 months, if you feel that you need more time, just let me know. I'll be willing to wait for you. But the bigger, but I will always leave the question is, but will it be worth it though?
Oh, that's
That's
a
why for
very good
diba,
follow-up question. That's right.
will it be worth it if I
Yes.
make you wait, right? Because things can change by then. Right?
Mm.
So that's one. And another is whenever I work with young people, no? So are you ready? Are you ready to make a change? That's why whenever I work with young people and when they tell me I am so tired, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to feel sad anymore. I don't want to be so lazy. I don't when I hear that from them, that's already okay, you want change? Okay, let's work.
Yeah, that's
Okay, chop
that.
chop. Let's do this. And then I tell them right away, it's not gonna be easy. I have clients who jokingly will tell me, I hate you. Oh my god, why are you making me do this? Then I say, I'm not making you do this. Why would I even make you do that? I don't even know, but why you're hating on me right now? But they laugh because they know. And I always tell them that because it's difficult. It's so difficult.
But
It's very difficult,
doable.
but doable.
That's right. Yes.
Diba? So yeah.
Arnie, we're almost towards the end of this podcast. Let me ask just because you mentioned already that we're moving, I think we're transitioning from pandemic to endemic.
Yes.
If there's only one thing that you can give to these people around the world that to be ready from being isolated, work from home, and from this old everything that we've done during pandemic, and now you're going to be out again. What is it that one thing that to prepare these people that welcome the pre-pandemic time and with everything that we've been doing last time? So how can you prepare people?
Can I give two so I can appeal to
Oh,
both of
sure, please.
the thinkers and the feelers?
Oh, yeah, of course. No, I was just asking that maybe just one, but If you're giving
Yeah,
two or three
I'll
or
give
four, of
two.
course. Okay.
I just
Yes.
two. And this
Yes.
is because for all of us, now let's make this more scientific. There are people who are left brain, the more logical ones, no? And there
Yes.
are people who are right brain. The right brain, they're more the more artistic ones, no?
That's
The
right. The
freaking
creative
yeah, right?
ones.
Yes, okay. So for these are the things that I and these are scary times. These are I know we're all excited for the endemic, right? Yes, finally. But at the same time, we're so uncertain because this is the first time this
Yes.
is happening. So this is so uncertain. It's unprecedented. What do I leave for the left brain, for the people who are for the logical people, for the thinkers? What will lead you through rules, right? All of the things, when they tell us it's safe to go outside, that's not based on any BS or that's not based on, sige, okay lang, I feel this way. No, they're based on policies and rules. World Health Organization has a list of guidelines that will help countries determine if it's already fit for countries to lift restrictions. Yeah?
Clear.
So for the left brain people, for the thinkers, that's what you will carry on. I will feel safe because there are rules, there are policies that would actually guide all of the lifting of the restrictions. And hopefully that will feel as safe. It makes me feel safe, right? So it's not just, okay, I feel like it, okay, let's lift
Yes.
rules. No, these are based on empirical evidence. Now for the
Right brain
artists,
people.
right? Brain people. No, so this is really what can I share with you that might make the endemic or that might make our transition into the endemic better. Now for the right brain thinker, I will for this one the rules for you, I will leave you all of the possibilities, all of the learnings that we have had moving forward. What can we contribute to the world now? This has something to do with newfound connections, discoveries about yourself, more looking inward, really more. I want to be more present now. We bring that into the future as we enter the endemic because we now see ourselves as people who can actually instill and instigate change, right?
Oh,
In so many ways. Okay, so dalawa.
yes.
Rules, the empirical data behind it, and for the other side, the experience of the pandemic. And both empirical and experience, these are shared experiences all throughout the world. So what does that mean? We're not alone. We're never, the pandemic actually made that clear. You will never be alone. There is
Yes.
so much greater that holds all of us together. Right?
I think that's the
So
validation there that we are never alone.
we're never alone.
Yes.
Left brain ka man or right brain, doesn't matter. You're not alone. But yeah.
Yes. Arnie, as I said, we're almost at the end, but I have these questions for my guests all the time, and I always ask them. So, my first, with all your experiences, with all your clients, or with your friends, your families, and all the people around you, what's the greatest lesson you've learned? It can be about mental health. It could be in general. What's the greatest lesson you've learned?
Greatest lesson learned, I cannot hold on to people. I
Oh,
have to really trust. And I'm talking about I cannot hold on to people, but at the same time, while I am with people, I want my presence to be known to these people. I want them to feel that I genuinely care for them. I want them to feel that I will put on effort. I will exert a lot of effort to make them feel important, but that does not mean that I can hold on to them, nor are they mine because they're not mine. Greatest
ah,
lesson learned. And
very
this
clear.
is, yes, and this is speaking as a mom of an almost 20-year-old son who in the past few years have really blossomed into a fine human being. And knowing right now that, you know what, this is all yours, Anna. And really learning, okay, I will keep a safe distance. And that was a very difficult lesson learned. Because I value connections. But that's the greatest lesson.
Wow. And I'm sure with this lesson and all the other lessons you've learned in life, you made some decision. So my follow-up question is, what decision you've made, one particular decision you've made that has a huge impact of who you are now?
Um, I think the biggest decision was, again, it's related, no. It's related to my work. It's related to really what I feel would be who I am clearly, ano. But this is really related to choosing to be a progressive, the best parent my child could have. Because I learned so much from being a parent. I was very young when I had my son. I did not know anything. It was the hardest decision really to just be, just to listen to so many people, learn from how he was, and just be me while raising him. So I think that was one of the biggest decisions, just to choose to be a parent. Because I was young, I could have done so many different things. It was even possible not to have him,
That's right.
but no, but that was a very big decision. Right? As a young person, I knew that I was judged a lot. My parents might have been judged for it too, but it was a decision that I'm so proud that I made.
And congratulations for being a proud mom.
Thank you.
And my last question for you, Arnie. If you or someone else is going to write a book about your life, what will it be and what will be the title of the book?
Ah, alam mo, this is super hard. I never really thought about that. But probably, my book will be my life in lists, maybe. It will be a series of checklists of values that you probably might have, or things you have experienced, or your fears, but it will be a book of lists. It will
Wow.
be a self-assessment book, really. Now it's your book, but these are the things that you can just put check marks on it, what you've tried, what you're afraid of. But it will most definitely be a book of lists that will invite readers to really think about their own lives. It's not going to be much about me, but really much about how our lives are really about the choices that we make. So it will be a book of, so that way, interactive yung book ko. It will be a very interactive book.
I
So
see.
yeah.
What will be the title, Arnie? A book of
Uh,
lists?
oh my God, ang hirap nito. Oh my gosh, it's so difficult to think of a title, ah. Oh my God. Your life in lists, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Diba?
It's okay.
Your
You can
life
still
in, yeah.
change. If ever in the near future you're going to decide to really write this book and put this book in Amazon or in the bookshops or bookstores, you can still change the title, Arnie. Thank you so much, Arnie, for sharing. And I'm very certain, absolutely certain that my life mates, the listeners out there, will learn a lot from this episode, which is, I think, very appropriate and something that everyone needs, especially during this time.
Okay. Thank you, Arnie. Arnie, can I also I like Louis say I have cards here. Can I just pick a card and just share it with you
Oh, yes,
and
please.
with the people who are listening to you.
Yes.
And hopefully this card will be meaningful to you, or will connect with you in a lot of ways. So it says the point of power is always in the present moment. That's what it says.
Nice.
Okay. And it says the past is over and done and has no power over me. I can begin to be free in this moment. Today's thoughts create my future. I am in charge. I now take my own power back. I am safe and I am free. I did not choose this, ha? So this is just, so baka sabi mo pre-med,
Random.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is super
Oh, thank you
random.
so much.
But I'm
What are
sharing
these
that with
cards,
you.
Arnie?
These are actually affirmation
Affirmations
cards. So
card.
they're
Oh,
power thought cards. These are by Louis Hay. So Louis Hay is one of the she's actually she speaks highly about the connection of the mind and the body, and she uses affirmation. She connects a lot of our physical ailments with some mental health concerns that we have.
Well,
And she
that's
always
nice.
has affirmations for that. So that's what I'll be sharing with you
Thank you
today.
so much. I'm sure it's not only for me, but for all those who are listening. And I hope that this resonates with you. For me, I will just say it's live in the present and enjoy the power of being in the present. Because sometimes people are dwelling on in the past and they are not happy with what's happening in their lives. And then the others are thinking so much about the future that they cannot really enjoy what they have at the moment.
Mm,
Arnie,
okay.
thank you so, so much. And I will share this episode not only in my Spotify, but I'll share it on Facebook and on LinkedIn and, of course, in Instagram.
Thank you, Arnie.
Thank you so much. So, all my lightmates and listener, if you like this episode, please download, listen, and share to your families and friends because it's not only you who needs to listen to this, but everyone. Thank you so much again, and until my next episode.